Hello, everybody, and welcome to Roundtable Live for June 29, 2018. I'm Bear Taffy, Mathis Games, Rock Lee Smile. We're talking about video games. We're doing it live. Let's go, let's go, let's go. We got the energy, baby.
Nick's got the energy. How's it going?
No, you're not feeling it?
I'm switching the topic on the stream right now to hey guys.
Okay.
So
all right,
I'm
yeah,
working on
that's better, I guess. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome on back. It's time for Roundtable Live for, as I mentioned, June 29th. We're ready for discussing the games and whatnot. Not a lot of games still to talk about, but we got some news, at least, some little tidbits trickling on through the cycle at the end of the week here. We'll talk about that stuff. Among those are PUBG and Epic going at it in the lawsuit of the century that has now come to a close, and we'll talk about what happened there. Valve has plans to replace SteamSpy with something better, quote unquote. We got a little bit of information about that from the conference they were attending recently. They gave some insight into that, so we'll discuss it. Google is planning a streaming gaming platform that could, quote, take on Xbox and PlayStation. So, ooh, Google getting into the mix of things. That would be a big player in the video game industry, obviously. So that is potentially a big discussion there. TellTale is finally moving on from the TellTale tool, their engine of probably, I want to say 280 years, maybe, about is probably an approximation of how long they've been using that one. So we'll discuss what that means for them moving forward.
Can you believe if they made Trouble in Terrorist Town with the TellTale tool?
TTT, Trouble in Terrorist Town, Telltale Tool, TTTTTT?
The TTTTT.
Yeah,
it's
something like that.
It's the sequel to VVVVVVV.
Oh, yeah.
Twitch details a little bit more information, getting inside baseball again about their new Discovery update. I guess their second Discovery update when you think about it, really. So we'll discuss new features and services being implemented into Twitch as well. The Crew 2 has also come out. Nick and I spent a little bit of time in that this week, and we'll discuss it along with Overwatch has a hamster. It's so cute. It's adorable. Like, I know it's not a story, but it is really adorable, that damn hamster in a ball.
I wish it was Jetpack Cat.
That would be good, too. That's probably next. We got a hamster and a Robo Ball. I'm pretty damn sure we're going to get Jetpack Cat.
I thought Jetpack Cat turned into Farrah, so I didn't think we were going to get it.
Mm-hmm,
all right. Yeah, that would make sense.
Hammond the hamster, which...
It's a good name.
It's probably a reference to Richard Hammond, I'd imagine, which I don't know if he's feeling too great about. But anyway, let's go ahead and start off with PUBG versus Epic. As mentioned, PUBG Corp has dropped their lawsuit against Epic Games over Fortnite. PUBG Corp, the subsidiary of Bluehole, which, again, I'll remind them, maybe not the best idea long-term to make the rename there. Is no longer going to be pursuing this lawsuit against Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite. They have dropped it with no details really provided as to what actually happened. Not clear whether or not there was a settlement reached, whether or not PUBG Corp is going to be pursuing any further disputes regarding the suit. Pretty much just kind of quietly went away, was brushed off to the side. Epic was like, we're not going to deal with that. You go ahead and mind your business.
It sucks we never got any specifics, and I hope maybe some will come out in the coming months, but I had heard speculation that there was a chance they may have actually had a decent reason for the lawsuit, even though we were very cynical about the whole thing.
Yeah.
It turned out we were all wrong. I would have wanted to know that we were all wrong, for being so heads about it.
That's the thing. Is like I want to note that, like, I don't know whether we've been 100% clear on what they were actually suing them for. And again, we make these jokes because they're honest and true. We're not the legal experts. Please do not come to us for legal advice. We're just doing some commentary. So get your own or do your own research there as far as whether or not PUBG Corp actually had a case. But turns out they don't even really seem to be of the opinion that they have a case anymore. But it from my understanding now, it seemed like they kind of had at least a little bit of footing based on the idea that they accused Epic of, like, stealing ideas while they were working together, right? I think, like, that was what they were primarily concerned about, was the fact that Epic, during the development of PUBG and prior to, like, any inclusion of Battle Royale and Fortnite, were, like, making notes about what PUBG was doing in order to use later, stuff like that. So if that's the case, you got to kind of consider that, okay, maybe that's that's questionable territory. But like we were saying before, like if they were just trying to accuse them of stealing the battle royale idea from them, then obviously they're not going to have footing there.
It reminds me a little bit of when Epic got sued by Silicon Knights. Remember what happened then? Silicon Knights went away. So Silicon Knights sued them, sued Epic back when 2 Human came out. And their lawsuit against them was that Epic didn't fully give them information as to how the Unreal Engine at the time, which was brand new, Unreal 3, I think, maybe, but yeah, I think it was 3, worked fully, and they were hiding things from them and not explaining how the engine worked, and then so they brought them to court over it, and then Silicon Knights ceased to exist.
It sounds about right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
And I think we all knew. I mean, again, this is also taking place within Korean courts, so it's completely completely outside of our jurisdiction. But we can safely assume, I'd say still, that it's going to be a financial battle getting involved with something like this, and Epic is going to win that battle right now. Absolutely. But anyway, doesn't seem like a battle will really actually be transpiring here. It's pretty much all wrapped up. We'll see more from Fortnite. We'll probably see a little less from PUBG, I'd assume, as time goes on. It's really like the trajectory's going like this, right? One's going down, the other's going up. One's waning, the other's waxing, and it's continuing, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Where's Realm Royale? Are they in there yet?
Where's Realm Royale right now, Nick? You got to let me know. You got
I don't know.
Post there, right?
Are there enough people now that it's on the board? Is it even playing with the big boys, or I don't know? Are the big boys playing it?
See, we need SteamSpy to tell us things like that. Natural segue. Hey-o. What
do you have to say about SteamSpy, Bear?
Well, I want to let you know that Valve has plans to replace SteamSpy with something better. Valve has been in attendance in a couple of business and industry conferences and events recently. I've been discussing various things, including, as we've mentioned several times on the show, new game projects that they're working on, which is very exciting. But another part that they have been discussing, and something that, again, we've mentioned on the show recently, is the service SteamSpy, which used to provide intel, statistics, and data about all games across Steam to the public. It was a very popular developer resource, actually, among indie developers. They really liked the data that they could garner from that. We did report recently, of course, that due to the GDPR compliance updates in the EU, a lot of companies had to make adjustments, and the adjustments that Steam made to their privacy policy effectively stopped SteamSpy from being able to exist as a service. So that brings us to today, where Valve has more or less announced that they are going to be replacing SteamSpy, or not replacing, I guess, but making a better version of SteamSpy, something that's their own within Valve's own house. And I think, first of all, you got to interpret this as a good thing, because any transparency, any more information about data and statistics in Steam and through Valve is good for the consumer, good for the industry, good for developers. It's good to be transparent and good to see those numbers, but also potential that none of this could ever pan out. But it is nice to know that they are thinking about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a useful tool, so that they're going to do kind of their own thing. Then I'm glad that it's going to be there for devs, I guess. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, SteamSpy is like the dev tool primarily, but like I remember, like just for us in particular, we would love to go there and like find out what is actually doing well, and this would be a perfect opportunity to go to SteamSpy and be like, hey, is Realm Royale actually capable of competing against the big dogs right now? And we don't really have a way of knowing that at the moment, right? Because nothing's really taking the spot.
The more info, the better. I don't see any downside, and it's unfortunate that it's gotten difficult because of the privacy stuff. So yeah, I hope something better takes over.
For sure.
I was just about to sign in and see what I've spent on my Steam account as a sort of aside.
Don't do it. I've still not done it.
I'm still avoiding it. Yeah, I know.
I don't want to know.
I feel better about it these days because I know that like at least a portion of them have been provided now, and it's not just me completely voiding my bank account. But yeah,
in the earlier days, that's exactly what it was.
What'd you say?
I said in the earlier days, though, that's exactly what we were doing, just emptying our bank accounts every time there was a sale. Just be like, just get all of the games.
Well, that's just like In the particularly early days, of course, I remember just like trying to chase the new hotness back in like 2012. And that was when that was when I was spending $15-20 on games like Mars. What the fuck was it called? God, Mars Warlogs. That's what it was. Mars Warlogs.
You bought Mars Warlogs?
I bought Mars Warlogs back in 2013 when it was a new release. And I was like, this looks mildly interesting. So I could maybe make a YouTube Let's Play series out of it.
And if I do it before anybody else does it, and it becomes popular later.
That was on Evolve. Exactly. I think they were giving codes away everywhere for that.
Really? I'm not surprised. It was not that good. It does sound
familiar, but...
Metacritic gives it a 59%. I think that's fair. I just
found out how much I spent, and it's not as much as I thought it was.
Do you want to share it with the class?
It's just a bit under $3,000.
Okay, that is a lot, but that is, I mean, for you, you know what? That's over the course of what, like 12 years or something? What is it?
I first got Steam when Half-Life 2 came out, so the first game that used it.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Damn. That was actually like 2006, wasn't it? I'm going to double check that for myself.
I really thought it would be more, to be honest.
Half-Life 2. I googled HALFE space LI2. It almost still got it for me. It almost still got Half-Life 2. Almost there. Yeah, 2004. God damn. So he's back. Anyway. Yeah, looking good. Hopefully Valve is able to provide something similar. A service like that would obviously be beneficial to us and the rest of the industry. So that's looking good. The big story this week. Google, you know the ones. They're planning on making a new game platform that apparently has the potential to take on Xbox and PlayStation. Also developing a new streaming platform, which in-house is codenamed Yeti, which sources say is something similar to OnLive, but using, of course, the data and web infrastructure of Google, which is considerably better, I would say, at least. Getting into the first little bit here, Google has discussed their plans to get into the video game industry recently, or at least kind of been toying with the idea. They're one of the big companies that don't really have a major presence in this industry right now. Of course, Amazon was one of those big companies, and now, having bought Twitch in 2016, they are a major player in that industry. Actually, they were the ones that swooped in. You remember back in 2016, we were all terrified that Google was going to end up buying Twitch. That was the fear for all of us, that like all of a sudden Google would own the entirety of content creation, basically, which is a bit of a nightmare that we luckily avoided, but I guess yet to be seen whether or not that is the case, actually. But yeah, Google's video game plans, or what we know of them at least right now, are a three-pronged approach. It's some sort of streaming platform, which is what I just mentioned, the OnLive sort of service, some sort of hardware, which is apparently what's meant to compete with the likes of the PlayStation and the Xbox, and an attempt to bring game developers under the Google umbrella, which could very well also mean just straight up buying developers outright.
I imagine that's what that is. It's probably going to be buying devs or contracting known devs for exclusives onto their system.
Exactly, yeah. So let's take those one bullet point at a time here. So looking at the streaming platform, this is something that has always been particularly interesting to me, because I remember back in like 2010, I was so excited about OnLive. I was so on board with OnLive and the idea of what it presented to people. And I signed up for the service and I used it and I wanted it to work well, but it just didn't, because it didn't, like, the idea theoretically it's good. It's something that allows you to play any game you want on almost any device you want. I had a shitty LAN PC that I bought from a place going out of business for $500 or something like that, and I was hoping to at least play some games, and I could play Deus Ex Human Revolution on that computer on OnLive, but it was really laggy and it was really not that good looking either. It kind of was choppy, and input delay in particular was like awful, unplayable almost. It was like 1 or 2 seconds sometimes.
I'm actually currently using, I was playing last night on PlayStation Now, which is their streaming service.
Right, yeah.
Because I'm playing through Ashura's Wrath, which is a PlayStation 3 game, and you can't download it off of the store. You have to play it on PlayStation Now, or I could obviously go out and buy a physical copy, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm playing that on that. And even then, like, it's right here next to my my Wi-Fi. It's plugged right in. Everything is, and I have 1 gig up, 1 gig down. Like I have really good internet. And even with really good internet, it is still laggy, and there is like a second before, like a delay between me pressing a button and it being registered. So I've had to adapt how I'm playing to. My brain is kind of adapted to pressing buttons a little earlier than I intend to. It works. Yeah. It's not bad with Asura's Wrath because Asura's Wrath is very much a anime David Cage game. It's a lot of quick time events and story, and then there's some actiony bits, but they're not difficult. But I can't imagine
trying to play a fighting game.
That's saying I imagine trying to play like something like a first-person shooter or a fighting game where that requires more proper input timing, and it wouldn't work.
Like you're not doing Blaze Blue on PlayStation now, right, Nick?
I don't think so. I feel like I should explain what this technology even is for people that maybe don't understand.
Yeah.
Like what we're actually asking this to do is they have a server farm essentially on their end, and that's basically handling all of the gameplay. It's got a bunch of gaming PCs hooked up, and then they're set to basically act like a remote play. So we're basically just getting a video feed of what's happening on their end sent to us. So you take your inputs, you send them to them, they register them, they render it, then they send it back to you, which is why that lag is so difficult to escape from. It's a lot to ask, really, of technology to be able to do that seamlessly. And even now, with the internet connections we have, I still think it's a lot to ask. And when you get to the point of wanting to play games in like 4K resolutions, where you can't even do that on your own home PC naturally, seamlessly, I really think that it's not the best idea. So for Google to want to be excited about that, I feel like they either are just following a trend or they've discovered some new way to do it that's better.
Yeah.
And if it's just not a trend, then I'm super not interested in it at all.
That is a bad sign if they're trying to follow a trend in that case, because that is a decade-old trend at this point.
Or they think they can consolidate and make the true Netflix of gaming.
Which everyone keeps, like, that's a fucking phrase that gets thrown around like nothing. Like, you gotta consider what you're even saying with the scope of that. And I agree with you in that there's not really the infrastructure in place, I don't think, right now to even consider this as a viable option for most people. I think we're still looking at a situation where there's only one provider in most like suburban areas, not just rural places, but like places like where I live. There's only like 2 or 3 legitimate ones, 2 of which suck. And the third one is Comcast, which is what I have. So, it's like we don't have a lot of choices and none of them are all that great either. So we're still kind of far away from really being able to depend on the network being in place to service something like this.
Furthermore, from that even, I have an NVIDIA Shield, and using NVIDIA's own proprietary hardware, streaming it right next to my router, it still has lag.
Yeah.
So then add in the distance going back and forth from wherever they've got that headquartered, it doesn't seem reasonable to ask. Nor does it seem like a thing worth doing, honestly. Does it seem like it's saving you that much in the long run to do that?
Let me put it in the most grandiose terms imaginable in order to kind of flip our perspective here, because I do think we're kind of an opinion already based on what we've seen of things like OnLive and of the NVIDIA Shield that like it's not really that reliable right now. So let's give them like an extreme benefit of the doubt for a minute here. Let's say, so what they're like quoted as describing it as in a dream scenario is imagine playing The Witcher 3 within a tab on Google Chrome. So that's what their major selling point is for this technology. So if we are to assume that that Google is planning the delivery of an infrastructure nationwide that could facilitate something like this, that's a major chance for like so many people to upgrade their quality of gaming, right? Like that's a massive shift.
Why? Because you could just buy a graphics card.
No, come on now. Like that's a completely reductive argument. You can't buy a graphics card when you don't have the money for a graphics card. This is what we're saying is people with internet browsers now have the capability of playing these high-end PC games that they couldn't otherwise access.
Maybe I'm being a bit entitled about that. I've always been the one that I would much rather just buy new hardware than deal with whatever weird technology that doesn't quite work.
I know, I assume you're being even a little bit
just build lol.
Yeah, exactly.
If only they could like couple it with like bringing Google Fiber out to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could bundle it.
That's what they have to do. Exactly. Like, why not just do that?
Because there is no way anybody's playing with fucking 50 down, 10 ups internet speeds, Witcher 3 on a tab without any lag.
Yeah.
Or it looking like, 480p at the
If you've got a
best.
gigabit connection, I'm still surprised if you're able to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even on PlayStation Now with my gigabit, like, it still lags, and it still doesn't look great. It looks fine, but it doesn't look as good as it would if I had a PS3 hooked up and playing it on that.
Right. So to go along with what I just said, would they be able to then afford the internet that's good enough to be able to handle this back and forth?
I mean, if anyone can, it's them, right? I guess.
But... No, the end user in this.
Who
doesn't have enough to buy a graphics card or a console? They would rather pay. What are they paying? Like $100 a month?
Well, that's the allure for Google Fiber, though, right? Is the fact that it's a better, much faster service at a comparable price to what they're paying now for the garbage bullshit that they're being provided.
So that number I threw out was totally arbitrary. I don't know what it would cost to get that job done, nor what it would cost per user and provider. So, yeah.
I mean, it could be the fact, and Chad is bringing up a good point. It could be just the fact that the technology isn't there yet, because no matter how fast your internet is, there is a distance between where you're at and where the game is being hosted, and that your information still has to travel that distance no matter what. So we just may not be at a point where streaming something like The Witcher 3 in a playable, fun way is really all that doable.
Yeah. It certainly works for turn-based stuff. I mean, there's no problem there.
Yeah.
RPGs and stuff would probably be fine. But I think most of the people that would be the most excited for this technology want to play the mainstream stuff, which is going to be a lot of first-person shooters and fighting games and things like that.
Yeah. And of course, like, this is massive news for developers too, considering the possibility for them to introduce their games to a billion new people who didn't have access to them before. Like, so many new people are going to be able to play The Witcher because they didn't have a console or because they didn't have a gaming PC.
What about data caps too? I mean, a lot of providers put data caps on,
Also
and this would just completely screw the whole concept.
Yeah, and that's like also become a lot more pervasive, unfortunately, lately. Like the data caps are spreading around like a virus through the ISPs. Yeah. So yeah, it's entirely possible that ends up being a barrier as well. Haha. But it's there's a lot of question marks surrounding that still, absolutely, and it's yet to be seen whether or not it's going to be anything that we can depend on as a reliable streaming platform. But of course, we still have yet to see what it actually is going to be as well. They may not even end up releasing it, so we'll see what happens with Google's Yeti service. Then the second bullet point there, some sort of hardware. So this is very much a theoretical thing, but it's still worth probably having a conversation about. Google trying to create a console. Obviously, to start with, you'd have to consider, okay, what games are going to be on it? What are you going to be able to play on Google's console? If Google wants to,
who they buy.
I suppose, right? Yeah. They're going to just if they wanted to, couldn't they just toss money around and become the biggest gaming company on the planet?
Sure.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were doing for a while on YouTube when they're streaming, like YouTube gaming launch. They just paid huge money to big streamers to stream exclusively on there, and they still have some of the biggest streamers, or just biggest YouTubers rather, streaming on their platform, like Jacksepticeye and Markiplier, et cetera. I imagine they'll just throw money at whoever they deem it. I also imagine if they're going to make a console, we will not see it until next gen, obviously. PS5.
Long time from now, yeah. But
and if they went the console route, wouldn't they make just an Android, like tiny little mini console, like an Ouya kind of situation?
Oh yeah,
if the plan is to farm out all the bandwidth to have their servers handle the hardware, they basically just need you to have a box, just some kind of endpoint that you plug to your monitor or TV.
Imagine it being like the size of an Amazon Fire TV stick or something like that. You just like stick it into the side of your TV with a couple of USB ports on it, and then that's your Google console. Like, I'm sure they could consider something like that too. But the big part of that, as I mentioned, is going to be whether or not they're actually able to get teams on board, notable developers, and maybe even acquire a couple of publishers themselves just to bring them in-house and get the Google name on or attached to it, which is enough for them, I'm sure, too. I think, as we've mentioned a few times, though, it's the most likely situation is that they end up making a big purchase if they do want to make a move into hardware. And that's going to really be the only way they're able to sell any sort of Google console. Because I think, like, what would they have to, if they didn't have a killer app for like, say the Google. What do we want? Well, okay, we got to come up with a good name for Google's console real quick. Hold on for this theoretical thing. It's not the Google Glass because that failed already.
Gone.
The Googleplex.
The Googleplex. Oh,
there you go. That's
I like that
good.
a lot, actually. Okay, they're already working on that. I think the Googleplex.
And the twist is that it's built into all of your new phones.
All
so
right.
what you do is you just hit a button on your phone and it streams to your TV, and the phone handles all the hardware.
Huh. I actually, going on that line of thought at the very least, I would not be surprised if Google did and is working on a physical console that you can buy in a store, going the way of the Switch and going something that's portable and at home.
Yeah, we're yet to see like a Switch knockoff, so I think that's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently that's the name of their headquarters. I didn't know that.
Oh, fuck.
Is it?
Damn it! I thought I had a good idea.
The Google Spot, shorten it to the G Spot.
Okay, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, the G Spot. That's what we do.
So they launched the G Spot in 2020, right?
We finally found the G Spot, boys.
It's like $200, say. So they've already got a competitive price point there. But like, without a killer app, without a game that's like, I gotta buy the G Spot for this, I've gotta experience this on the G Spot.
Right.
What's their selling point? How do they get people to buy their console? Because the Xbox One X, they got to beat that in power somehow? I don't think so, right? They're probably not going to compete in that domain. They got to compete with the PS4 in what regard? Convenience, accessibility. People have it like it's commonplace in households, and they don't have to ask them, hey, do you have a PS4? What's that? No, that's not a question. It's the G-Spot.
I honestly think if they're going to compete and they're really going for it, again, this is all hearsay, remember, but I think the easiest way is obviously the money. And what they can do when they announce it is show that they're going to have a bunch of third-party support that are going to be on all the other consoles and their console, and then
big-time advertising campaign, right?
Yeah, and then they sincerely drop a lot of money on well-known developers to develop an exclusive, 1 or 2 or 3 exclusives for their system. That'll get people to buy it. That was the problem with the Xbox, if you think about it. Their exclusives were nil. There was just none. And then the ones they announced are now gone. They got canceled. Almost all of them. That Dragon one that was, I can't remember, Scalebound, yeah. That one, like, all their cool games. The ones that, like, the Master Chief Collection was a buggy, broken mess. Yeah. That was Xbox's problem. If they can step over that and get themselves some dope exclusives, that's what's going to sell systems.
I think that the proper angle they're going to take is to go with the new monetization scheme that seems to be powering all of these online services. And what you do is instead of charging outright for the system, it's just a monthly subscription service.
Okay.
Say a $50 a month deal, and they get maybe 10 or 20 games for the first year. All of them are free. You just pay in and pay per month. And they'll keep adding games to it, and play whatever you want on there for free. After a couple of years go by, they get a few exclusives, and change the monetization little by little, so they charge you more, and you get less.
I could see them doing something like that, where it's like you pay $50 initially, and then that's like they consider that like you're paying for the G Spot, but the shipping and the price of the thing is free because you're paying for your first month as well with the $50 thing, right? And then you just have the G Spot in your TV all the time, but you can only use the G Spot when you've paid for it.
So everybody in chat that's saying it's the worst idea ever, just keep that in mind when this actually exists within the next 2 years.
I know, no, this you're calling them out. Absolutely.
This is the direction that we're going with the AAA publishers right now.
Only $200.
Unfortunately, it's probably going to turn into hardware soon enough. I mean, if they said everything you just saw at E3 will be playable for free on this thing if you pay a monthly fee, it would be of value. Whether or not people buy into it, that's questionable, but I think it would of value.
Google's like maybe one of the only companies that is capable of pulling something like that off. Yeah.
We'll see. Right, well, next E3 could be very, very interesting if Google's there. So
certainly, yeah. Well, we've kind of discussed point 3 at length already here. So just an attempt to bring game developers under the Google umbrella, which we've mentioned at length. Like that's got to be one of their big plays. If they just come in here and all of a sudden have a team of rookies, like, well, Google here, we've never made a game before, but these engineers are going to try it out, and they're just gonna knock it out of the park. No, we got people you can buy. like good ones. You just buy them and have them make stuff and give them billions of dollars, and then we can play amazing games. Please. All right. That's Google. We'll see what happens with them. Hopefully they become a bigger player. Like I want them to become a bigger player in the video game industry. I think that's only a good thing.
I don't. They own everything, and I kind of don't want them to own more things.
Well, I mean, they're gonna.
I know they're gonna, but I don't want the world to become one giant Katamari ball owned by AOL, Time Warner, Warner Brothers,
Disney, Google.
Disney, Google, LucasArts.
I think we're like at least 1,200 years away from Altered Carbon future, but like I can understand the pain or the fear at least. Have you seen that show?
They'll end up buying Twitch, honestly. They'll eventually end up buying Twitch out from Amazon, or they'll buy Amazon.
I don't know. Buy Amazon. Come on, man. That's like that's the ultimate dystopian nightmare that we've realized if Google buys Amazon.
Apple buys Amazon, and then Google buys Apple.
Google buys Apple. And then Amazon buys Google all of a sudden. They're like, what the fuck? How'd that happen?
And then Disney buys everything. Disney just has infinite money.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get Google in here to compete with Disney in the video game industry, right? Like that's kind of a weird.
Disney's too busy pawning off. Disney's too busy pawning off their Star Wars licenses to game companies that then cancel their games.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have that on the docket, by the way?
No, you want to toss it on for 5 minutes? Sure.
Amy Hennig quit EA. And the single-player Star Wars game that she was working on got immediately shelved. So EA's single-player Star Wars game that they literally announced
last year, maybe even this year,
or whatever. Amy Hennig, whatever one she's working on, she left, she quit, they shelved it, and she's starting up an indie studio now.
Jeez, wow!
Did EA destroy the company that was making it? Because that's what they usually do.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting. That's just an interesting piece of news as well. Is that EA once again another game dies under their umbrella?
That sure has become their reputation, hasn't it? Good old EA.
I want to make an EA graveyard graphic that we can pull up every time they eat a new company.
I think that exists somewhere.
How about
just
carve the name into another gravestone?
How about just EA? Stop that.
Stop that. Stop destroying entire companies, EA. God damn it. Why do we have to keep telling you that?
They're the fucking empire, man. They eat planets.
So yeah, I don't know if that company specifically is gone, but the game that they were working on is shelved, and Amy quit.
All right.
So we'll see what happens.
Bummer. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Okay. Let's real quick talk about the TellTale tool, which they have not called the G-Spot, unfortunately. The name of it is just the TellTale tool, which is a good name. It's their old engine that they're finally ditching in favor of the Unity engine. That report is coming via Variety, which also covers a little bit of news about their upcoming Stranger Things tie-in games, and that is very interesting stuff. That, along with The Wolf Among Us Season 2, which was delayed into 2019.
Are these both using, Unity or TellTale?
Just about to say that, yeah. Both that and the new Stranger Things game are both going to be the first ones TellTale develops using Unity instead of the TellTale tool. So, finally. Long time coming, right?
It's the first two games that TellTale have been developing in a long time that I give a shit about.
And it's not just because of that, though, right? I think actually like those two properties may be the ones, even if they hadn't announced this, to bring me back.
I definitely Wolf Among Us 2, because I really adored Wolf Among Us 1, and I am a sucker for Stranger Things. I think that show is phenomenal, so I am 100% in and playing a game in that weird little universe.
But of course, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I'll be very curious to put episode 1 or chapter 1, whatever we're calling Wolf Among Us 1, up against the new engine version and see what kind of tweaks I can notice between the two.
Definitely, yeah. I'm looking forward to that too.
I'm just hoping for me, simple things I want. Just smoother animation, cleaner looking animation in lip syncing. And as we were saying before the show, hitching between scenes once you make your choice, where obviously there's the seam and the game kind of like jumps a little bit.
Turning the gears in front of your face.
Just a smoother, more enjoyable experience that you can't tell you're playing a game all the time.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. It's like we keep beating this drum on the show too. The fact that TellTale needs to change something, and this was a major, major contender for that. Like that was one of the, not necessarily the easier things, but one of the more obvious changes that they can make is an overhaul with the engine. And Unity, I mean, it's I described it to you before the show as like more of a lateral move than an upgrade, I'd say, but certainly going to be a lot different looking and certainly going to, I assume, provide them a lot more freedom, although maybe less freedom considering that was an engine that they had made that they were probably a lot more familiar with in the TellTale tool.
I don't know if it'll necessarily be different looking. They'll probably have the same meshes and the same texture work.
You think so?
Yeah, I really don't know what's going to be different exactly about it. Hopefully it's just more streamlined for them. Otherwise, I don't know why they'd bother switching. Because as you said, I mean, Unity is very versatile, but like they had their own custom setup.
Yeah.
I would imagine it couldn't get much better, but you know, obviously they did it, so they have a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what changes. That's really the main thing for me. And for those out there that are thinking because it's a new engine, for some reason, TellTale's going to make a new kind of game.
Oh,
No.
That's not what engine means.
No.
Yeah.
That's not what it implies. It's going to be the same kind of game, so don't think that.
Not going to be a match 3 all of a sudden. No, you're going to be walking the same line here. I mean, it's also potentially indicative though of other changes that the studio is considering. There's that possibility where maybe if they're going so far as to change the engine they use, perhaps also they're considering a change to the way that they approach narrative. Maybe they've learned lessons from things like The Council, for example, that we praised for its ability to include more gamified elements into those choices in dialogue situations, or maybe it's becoming more self-aware finally and less just the same kind of process of good or bad repeated ad infinitum.
Or maybe they ran into some sort of hardware bandwidth issue that was harder to fix or reprogram rather than just go over to something that's already got the problem fixed. Or maybe they like that Unity already has a framework for exporting projects into mobile environments. I mean, there's a lot of external features and factors that are just maybe simpler for them to move to someone else who's already done the work than, outsource it or send it to their own in-house to fix.
Yeah, when you said that too about the mobile element, that clicked, made me think that's more than likely something that they're aiming at. I don't know, like I don't know if any of the TellTale games have been released on mobile. Have they? I'm going to check in the Play Store real quick, but
while you're doing that, the other thing, I mean, if I was to like dream scenario, what else could they change? I mean, I'm down with them doing adventure games and stuff, but one of my biggest complaints with TellTale for a long time is that none of your choices really matter in the end. They always lead to the kind of same ending.
Yeah, but that's a writing issue, not an engine issue.
That's what, I'm saying it's like in a dream world,
yeah.
what I would love TellTale just to change drastically about everything that they do is that. And it's funny because, still trudging through Detroit and hating that game. One of the few things he does well, though, is I love at the end of every chapter, whatever, seeing how many different possibilities there were and how each scene could end wildly differently than the last one. I would love to see that kind of branching narrative make its way over into a TellTale game, because I think TellTale, compared to Quantic Dream, tells a better story almost every time. Even if I have issues with their writing, I think they are better at telling stories than, say, like David Cage's. And if they could bring in that kind of branching narrative, I'd be pumped for it.
The thing is, though, when you go into the domain of telling a story with that wide of an arc to it, that many different branching narratives, you're actually telling many, many stories. True. And for them all to be coherent up against each other in parallel doesn't always seem like a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
Which might be why David Cage games are bad.
I mean, that's very true.
Might have just solved it.
It's an idea. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just looking on there. It turns out that, basically all of the TellTale major IPs have been ported to mobile. So that's certainly a possibility that they're, looking at easier ways to make that happen. Friggin' Walking Dead has 10 million downloads on Android.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Their final one is coming out, right? The final chapter for that?
I think so, yeah.
Yep. The final season.
Cool. It'll be nice to put a cap on any TellTale game.
Right. But now the prequel's just around the corner. I guess they've already gone that route for the most part, though, haven't they? Okay. I think that's about all we got for that. They're moving on. We'll see what Unity brings to the TellTale universe. Let's get quickly into some Twitch news here. Twitch has announced a new update to their discovery features. They're revamping the home and channel pages. You're going to see some new looks here on twitch.tv very soon. This is something that we probably discussed, a very similar conversation I'm sure we had maybe like 1 or 2 years ago regarding Twitch's new Pulse social component. and that, entire social media element that they've been trying to add on to the website, trying and failing for the most part to do over the last year or so. They're now going to be axing that. Pulse is no more, and you probably won't be seeing that feed on the left side for channel pages anymore either. And they're going to be, as I mentioned, redesigning and retooling the home and channel pages. They're going to be focusing primarily on game-specific filters, improved recommendations for smaller channels, better searches, and better tags to help describe streams, et cetera, et cetera. So again, getting a little bit inside baseball here for the Twitch and broadcaster side of discussion, but it will, of course, make an impact on how you use Twitch and how we all experience the website. And Twitch, as I continue to mention, is becoming a bigger and bigger player in the media space in general. I think more and more people are becoming aware of it and what it entails too. So the changes they make are always going to be pretty big news. But overall, how you feeling?
There's a lot of things to unpack with this particular topic, surprisingly. First, I see a lot of people in chat and on the Reddit, people hate the new homepage. They loathe it. People are like, it's gross. It doesn't look good. It's bad. And there's an algorithm that goes along with the homepage now, which people are not excited about because they're going to recommend things that are the algorithm is going to try and recommend things to you that match your viewing history. And that can be a problem because you don't always want to watch the same thing over and over again. But that's the problem with AI learning and all that stuff and machine learning is it just looks at numbers. It doesn't look at anything else.
Let me jump in here real quick. I just want to make a bigger point about all this. The fact that like Twitch is doing that now, YouTube has announced several changes recently that has like regarded algorithmic learning and machine learning and making like small changes based on a small percentage of the audience, things like that. And a lot of it always has to do with more or less people being told how they like to watch things or how they enjoy content.
That's the problem. Yeah.
I think people fucking hate that or hate the idea that they're being told by machines what they like, right? Yeah. I think in general, that's just a frowned upon idea.
I agree. I don't want to be told what I should be watching next. I know what I want to watch next for the most part. My general broad fear, and I've been fucking shouting this since Amazon bought Twitch, is that they're going to take steps similar to YouTube. Are they going to take the same steps? Unlikely. It's a live streaming service. It's not a video service. They can't really go the same route. But if you think back when Google bought YouTube, the first things that they changed was just the homepage. The homepage was the only thing that got changed for a long time, and it was due to the algorithm. And that slowly, over the course of a few years...
you're getting us scared here now, man.
Well, it's just true. Just look back. Just all you have to do is look back. They just changed the homepage, then they changed the homepage and the recommended page. Then we started seeing other things start leaking into your subscription area. I do wonder if Amazon has a long-term plan to slowly bring that algorithm as a site-wide thing to always have something recommended to you. To always have something on the side, even if you're looking at recommended games, if they have something on the sidebar that's recommending you, this guy's playing this, you should check him out, you should check him out, you should check him out. I wouldn't be entirely too
That would absolutely
surprised.
fall within Amazon's guidelines and what we've come to expect of them as a company so far, especially based on their website in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's Twitch homepage right now, and I think most people who are regular Twitch viewers don't, go to the homepage as their default go-to. But just, people are panicking, and I don't think there's any reason to panic right now, but expect changes. Twitch can't stay the same forever. That's just not going to happen.
Won't be long until you got to be Twitch Prime to even load up the website, man. God. You know how they be. Google Plus was forced on us.
Oh, that's right. I remember when Google Plus was forced on us. Oh my God, I forgot about that. That was awful. Bob's Army rose up over like a night.
Oh, fucking Bob.
Yeah. But Amazon is a multi-billion-dollar company that is going to look to try and make as much money off of their purchases as they can. And if the algorithm shows positive changes on just the homepage, fully expect it to slowly be leaked into other things. I don't think that's out of reasonable expectation.
Nick, you look like you're deep in thought over there.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I'm trying to understand in my own head if they're actually thoughts that comport properly with each other or if they're tangents. So I guess I'll just dump them out and we'll see what happens.
Toss them out there.
So I agree with you, first of all, that I don't think people like to be told what to watch.
Yeah.
But that is kind of the foundational element of what companies believe drives their sales.
Yes,
so those two
I also agree with that.
Are directly in conflict with each other to begin with.
Yep.
secondarily, I think perhaps they're trying to fix a problem that isn't actually broken. We just want it to be fixed individually so we can succeed more individually. People
Can you
that,
elaborate on that?
yes, of course. People on Twitch that stream and make it their job and spend every day trying to promote themselves want Twitch to handle as much of that as possible so they don't have to. Because, of course, the platform you do your work on, you'd love it if they supported you and they gave you as much visibility and discoverability as possible. Now, I agree completely that discoverability is generally bad on Twitch, but I don't know if there is a quick and easy solution to making it actually better.
Yeah.
Twitch's and most mainstream companies' solution usually is an algorithm. Again, those things are in conflict with the way spending happens. And in this case, I don't think it would actually fix a problem. So the people that are lobbying for wanting to be seen more are the people that just don't know a better solution for it and are just crying out into the void.
Well, do you have any more than two solutions to this issue? That the only two that I can conceive of are algorithmic solutions and hire a person for discoverability. Hire a person to go through the smaller channels to try to find people to highlight, to get the more talented and less popular broadcasters to be up on the pedestal.
Or you take a hands-off approach and just let the market sort itself out and go, well, if somebody's going to become popular, they'll figure out a way to do it.
Which then everyone complains about because you're not doing anything to help them, right?
Right, and then you throw in algorithms and then people try to figure those out so they can win against the algorithm. And then the whole mess is just fucking convoluted at that point. And that's what YouTube is.
Yeah. And like, I think when you consider that, I'd prefer the algorithm because I don't want to subject any person, first of all, to having to deal with the job of Twitch discoverability captain or something like that and get like an endless slew of tweets every single day of like, why didn't you pick me, you ugly bitch, or something like that.
Well, when I started out on YouTube, I figured that was just part of the job. Like, it's like any other thing where you promote yourself. You have to do the rounds. You've got to promote yourself in a bunch of different venues that make sense. Try and, have outreach, do a Facebook, make Reddit threads. And actually that was awful. I mean, I hated doing it, but like I knew it was part of the job. Same with writing emails to developers. And I come to find out later, all the Twitch people, when they got into it, they're just kind of expecting this stuff to be done for them. And I didn't really get why that is. There was a huge difference in mentality between like YouTubers of the 2013 venue versus Twitch users of 2015 plus. I know it's only a short couple of years, but
but so much has changed in
all
2
of the
years.
programs, all of the OBS exists now. They don't have to figure that out. Like,
really think about that. How much has changed in 5 years? The things we did were so different. I remember recording on fucking Hopodge PVRs to get console footage and then editing in Vegas. And all the different, like, now it's one button. Now all the different processes that we all had to go through, it's all been completely streamlined. And now we're like looking for Twitch to all of a sudden streamline the process of making it. From that. Yeah, like we no longer even have to do anything for the actual job.
I see that as a huge level of entitlement, honestly. I don't know why we expect other people to do that.
But before I get into that, though, I don't want to like necessarily paint the rest of the streamers that aren't us in that light, because it's just, I think it's not necessarily an attitude representative of an entire.
They fucking gamified it, though. They literally gamified it into making it into achievements to stream.
Yeah, the Twitch achievements.
I actually think that's nuts.
Yeah,
that is kind of silly. Yeah, like looking at that, it's like stream for 500 hours. I'm just gonna keep doing my job. You don't have to.
This is my job. Why are you gamifying? It's ridiculous.
It's interesting because like I don't know if we can really look at this in a way that makes sense to us because of how we started, if that makes any sense. Because when we started doing this stuff in YouTube, back in my day when we did YouTube, to even get a channel up and running, even on Twitch, required a butt ton of work. You needed so many different pieces of equipment. You needed to make sure your machine was top of the line because there was very few machines that could record and play at the same time. Yeah. It was an investment, and that was a barrier to entry. And you skip forward 3 or 4 years, and now streaming and YouTubing, like most rigs and consoles themselves, built in. It's a one-button process. You can now just do it. So the work to get up and running is a lot less. So many more people can try to do it. And when they don't succeed, and I'm sure you all do too, I get a couple messages a month of like, I've been doing this for 4 months. I don't know why I don't have any viewers. I'm like, probably because you've been doing it for only 4 months, dude. Yeah. You know, you got to look at it, and it's a lot of work.
On the other side, you also see the people that are like, I've been doing this for 3 years and I still have 0 viewers. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. There's no magic bullet for any of this. So we gotta stop thinking there's just this line of procession to go from starting to I'm famous and getting millions of dollars in this industry. Yeah. There isn't a way to do it, and there shouldn't be that thought process.
I can already see us getting into the discussion of how we all just got lucky, basically getting to where we are. But like, and we all know that now, of course, as well. But like, I agree with you completely in that the idea here is that we cannot expect that any sort of machine learning or algorithmic support is going to solve whatever perceived issue is being perceived here. Like it's maybe not even an issue when you boil it down. It may even just like be.
That's what I was arguing, that it isn't an issue.
It's just the results of the meritocracy, right? Like it's just like what happens when you don't have enough room for people to be successful, and a lot of people want to be successful.
Gassy Mexican, Max is in chat right now, and he's said simply, he's like, honestly, some people aren't cut out for this, and no one likes to hear that. And I also agree. There are just some people's personalities just aren't cut out for it.
Right.
And some people realize that too.
Yeah. And what was that, Nick?
Twitch is kind of catering to the idea that everyone can be successful.
To tie that in,
the right attitude.
To tie that in, like, it doesn't matter sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you work, but Twitch having those achievements feeds into the idea that anyone can do that. Doesn't matter who your personality is, because as long as I hit those achievements that Twitch has put up in this kind of gamified success, then I will eventually make it. And that's just not true.
And of course, Twitch is going to encourage anyone that wants to broadcast.
Well, because money, right? Of course.
Yeah, so that's obviously going to be their MO.
I really don't mean this to sound like gatekeeping either, because people will make it that don't even mean to, and people that try really hard.
All of us probably feel that way.
It's a lot of hard work. It's a bit of luck. It's a bit of networking. It's a bit of promotion. And if all the stars line up, things work out. But there's no step A, step B, step C that gets you from beginning to end.
Yeah. So I think we're all kind of coming to the same conclusion about this in general. The bottom line is that, like, well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll say there's a lot of conversations that branch off from this update. And another one that I want to touch on before we move on from it is on Twitter. I see a lot of people on the YouTube end saying, look, see, Twitch is showing their algorithm changes. Wouldn't it be really nice if YouTube did this? Why doesn't YouTube do this? And while I understand the sentiment, it's not the same thing, because, and from my understanding and who I've, some people that I know on that end, YouTube's algorithm is so big and is so self-instructed because it's machine learning that the people who even work on the algorithm don't even fully understand how the algorithm works.
This is
I'm dead serious though. Like
sci-fi bullshit. The algorithm is so complex, but even the engineers behind it don't understand.
But it's funny, but it's true, because the algorithm is constantly changing itself. It's constantly adapting and changing what it's doing based on its own programming and adapting that way. So there are people who know what aspects of the algorithm do, but none of them know fully what the algorithm does, because the algorithm is so big and it is its own thing that there is nobody at YouTube who can step forward and go, here is what the algorithm does, because it's impossible.
Well, I guess that's a good thing, right? That
yes
there isn't like a definitive solution to it.
It's no in all directions. The reason is the entire point at that point for people to win at this concept is to figure out the algorithm and beat it. Right. It's not to think about what you're trying to make in terms of content. It's not about being entertaining. It's not interfacing with a community. It's literally about beating an algorithm. And that's not what I want Twitch to turn into.
Counter argument: if the algorithm is inherently incalculable and like you cannot beat it,
people will try and figure it out anyway.
They still will. I suppose like if you look at the stock market, then that's the same argument being made basically. But like, I guess I'm just trying to maybe conceive of a reality where if everyone's on a makeshift level playing field, even if they're attempting to beat it, they're not doing themselves any favors, because they're not really making any concentrated effort, even if they're trying. Right? Like they're not doing anything that would be helpful to them if they're attempting to beat an algorithm that inherently cannot be beaten.
They may by accident. I kind of don't know how to answer
Anyone would though, right? That's the thing. And that's like kind of the idea that we're boiling down to here with this whole conversation, is that it really just comes down to luck. It really just comes down to striking while the iron's hot, continually putting things out there, of course, is a big part of it too. And then eventually you strike something that works.
I think it's the best way to go is just let people be lucky.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to guide everything, just let it happen.
Yeah. I don't disagree, honestly. It's like, and looking at the pulse component of things from Twitch as well is kind of a great way to supplement that argument, because look at how little it was used. Look at how like people didn't even give a damn when Twitch made a concentrated effort to create a social component to the website.
Because they're like 2 years late.
Well, on top of that, it's just not something people want. People
have Discord and they're happy.
It's not a feature that anyone was looking for. They want something that, well, I don't know. Like, again, we're not going to be able to solve this issue because it's kind of an unsolvable problem. But they want, that's what they want, is a solution that doesn't exist. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, trying to take, like, imagine like a big streamer, like, Max is in chat. Take Max, for instance, and his Discord. Try to take his Discord community and be like, we're moving to Pulse now. Yeah. What kind of headache-inducing mess would that be?
Exactly, yeah.
I can't imagine.
You're going to keep things where they work, and no one wants to move if they don't have to, especially if it's to something that isn't necessarily comparably better. So, anyway. That's that, I think, unless there was another point that you wanted to bring up.
We could branch it. Go ahead, Nick, please.
Is it too conceited for me to make this argument when people are saying, let people be lucky, a lucky person is saying that?
No, I mean, it's almost impossible for us not to have a level of bias there, obviously, because we are lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm sitting here still trying to crack the algorithm every day for YouTube. Every day I'm looking at what...
put that point out there, too. It's not like we've made it and then we're done. We are constantly on the grind every day, too. It's not like that stopped for us.
Because once the algorithm changes and you notice it hit your channel, you now have to scramble. And you have to figure out what changed in the algorithm, what's being prioritized right now. And then the other thing that's like that's part of it is following conspiracy theories, like the theory that
always the fun part.
Are you gonna get into it?
He just wants to pimp his podcast.
No, not that kind of. I'm not talking about that kind of.
I know what you mean, though.
There was a YouTuber who even said like he put his Twitch link in his description for a while and noticed that his views dropped, and then when he removed it, his views went back up. So while that's anecdotal in one specific person, then you have to start trying that out and trying to figure out what works. And it's just, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's actually tiring to the point where I just don't care anymore about YouTube. It's too much work to figure out all this nonsense.
That's why
again, it's like like the condition of Twitch being the opposite, where they're so welcoming to creators.
Yeah, it's so straightforward. You know, you hit the button, you talk to people for a while, you play the game, and then you go to bed. It's so straightforward. That's
right. Why can't YouTube be more like that? All right. Anyway, that's the Discovery features update for Twitch. We'll see if it ends up making a big difference for folks.
Then let's get into Oh well, I'll say there's one other thing we could branch into was the idea of the YouTube thumbnail thing.
All right, yeah. So that's I mean, just like a sort of minor part of that as well is the fact that
it's well into the talk we just had.
Yeah. Like, so YouTube is doing this new thing this week. They're trying a test experiments with 0.3% of their audience, where you will not get the thumbnail that the creator generated or that the creator decided upon, but rather you will get the auto-generated thumbnail, which is
0.03% of people.
0.3%, yes, or 0.03.
0.03.
Yeah, so it's a little less, which is still like millions of people, but. Yeah, it's a minor thing, obviously, but it is also kind of a critical component of YouTube. And for YouTube creators, of course, having control over the thumbnail is something we'd like to maintain, but YouTube doesn't seem to think that's the case.
So I feel like I fall on YouTube's side on this one because they announced it ahead of time, but they only announced it on their forums, so nobody fucking saw it because, of course.
Yeah, something with like 200 views.
Here's the reason I'm okay with it and the reason they're doing it, because I read the reason they're doing it and it makes sense. A large portion of their viewer base, the uploaders, only use generated thumbnails. Right? So what they're trying to do is not replace custom thumbnails. They want to find out what works, which thumbnails are working best, so that when you upload a video and it auto generates a thumbnail, it is doing it in a way that is generating a thumbnail that is more clickable to the average person if you're a small channel. It's an experiment.
Just ask me. I could tell them. It's really easy. All you need is a large face anywhere in it.
Yep.
large, bold text, and a solid color or rainbow gradient background.
And updated for 2018, you need a banner on the bottom left or bottom right that says #1 Victory Royale.
Yes.
Also helps.
Yeah, of course. I'm just saying,
This is what I meant by everything becoming determined by algorithms. Everyone's trying to beat the algorithm. They're all trying to have the best thumbnail. It's not about the content. It's about the fucking thumbnail.
Well,
it's about getting people to click, dude. It's always been about getting people to click.
I've always been that guy for a long time being like, clickbait thumbnails are stupid. But then you look at the people who have succeeded on YouTube and they all use clickbait thumbnails. So you fucking, you're like, okay, I get it. Clickbait thumbnails get you to click the video. It might not get other people to click the video because they're like, I hate clickbait, but you are in the minority. The problem is the majority clicks on clickbaity
Even if you
thumbnails.
say you hate clickbait, odds are you
still clicked on
clickbait. You probably do.
Yeah, you have to play the game.
Be honest with yourself.
Because the algorithm actually looks at your thumbnail as well. So you have to play the fucking game. If you don't want to play the game...
Go on Twitch.
Yeah, go to Twitch.
Done.
There you go. You did it, Nick. All right, yeah, that's that little bit of news as well. Nick, let's talk about the crew too, shall we?
We can do that.
Yeah.
You want me to talk about it?
I'd love if you did. Yeah, please. I want to get you on to something slightly more positive, although I don't know. Maybe I won't be.
So I'll give you the quick version that I was telling chat yesterday. Crew 2 is essentially a squashed down model of the United States that is a racing sandbox. Now, separate from Crew 1, they have allowed you access to a series of new vehicles in this one. You can fly planes, you can drive dirt bikes, you can drive boats, various types of trucks, monster trucks, street racing cars.
Doom buggies.
Yeah, Doom buggies. They had some of that stuff in the original one, but they didn't have like the planes and boats and such. So the main appeal of the game is here's a big old model of sort of the US and drive around it, have fun, do street races, hang out with your friends, look for loot crates in the middle of the woods. And Bear and I did a little bit of that yesterday. We did a drive from about the middle of the United States to California. Then we drove up to Washington, and then we took planes from Washington over to Long Island. And it was about a 25-minute flight from the one side of the country to the other.
It's pretty much 1-to-1.
Yeah, basically. I think they said it was about 35 miles from one coast to the other.
Yeah.
So pretty real in that case. No, I'm not trying to shit on it for the map size. It's actually pretty big, but
yeah, it impressed me, honestly.
It lacks definition, obviously. You're not going to have a detailed map of every city in the United States. I don't think anyone was expecting that necessarily, but even beyond that, though, it lacks detail in some ways that are like kind of silly, like Niagara Falls specifically. You were there when we hung out there, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So after you left, Lynn and I went to Niagara Falls and we just were kind of like looking at it. It's like a 20-foot drop.
I'm
it's actually
surprised.
Just sad looking.
Yeah.
I just kind of drove over the top of it to the other side and then jumped in a few times.
That's great.
Anyway, the point of the game, as I can take it to be, is just to have fun, do wacky stuff. It's very arcadey, very silly, very over the top. You can literally transform from a car to a plane dynamically. So like jump off a cliff and then turn into a plane and keep flying. That's actually pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the more fun elements of the game.
On the whole, though, I don't know if it's the best. It's kind of in the mid-range to like not sure if I should recommend this for full price kind of realm. Although we had fun, I think largely a lot of the fun that we had was due to each other's company more so than the game providing much entertainment.
Yeah.
It was a bit on the frustrating side, actually, because the handling and the physics of the cars are really bad. I was likening some of the physics interactions to being on the level of like Crazy Taxi, where you hit stuff and it just shoots up in the air like a balloon. It's just silly, actually. And I don't expect it to be like top of the line, best physics ever, but like it feels like they didn't make an effort in that case. Or maybe they just didn't care or prioritize that. I don't know. On top of that, it was very frustrating. A lot of the roads were surrounded by guardrails that you simply couldn't get over. So you were forced into this weird track where you just had to follow the road until you could leave it.
Yeah. To hammer that point home, like it really shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, it's so dumb. In a game like this that was primarily designed, I assume, as an open world sandbox for you and your friends to do races in and to just drive around America freely, there are so many little minor impedances in place due to the physics and the design of like the controls, because the cars should be able to easily navigate over most obstacles, especially like small rocks and guardrails, like you said. It's so annoying when you're flying around going like 110 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden a little stump keeps it like, bam, full stop, and all your momentum's gone.
And there's no damage modeling. You just get little scratches on your paint, but you don't ever get like a dent or any kind of physics deformation to the car. It just stops dead. That's it.
Yeah.
And to hammer the point home, I unlocked a monster truck, or I had one from the season pass from the code you gave me, and it basically didn't have the ability to drive over cars.
Like, come on. You
that's
gotta be able
actually
to,
silly.
Yeah, it's dumb. So I agree that is a major hindrance to my ability to enjoy the crew too. I did have fun with it though, like you mentioned. I think it was mostly due to our company and making fun where we could. And I think like I could recommend it maybe to people who enjoyed the first crew game. We even had a couple of folks in chat that were like, oh man, I'm looking forward to this. This is looking fantastic. So I think there is an audience for this. And like you mentioned, like the dynamic changing when we made our flight from Washington to New York to Long Island, I approached Long Island from the air in the form of a plane, and then changed the car midair and landed perfectly on the road and kept my momentum perfectly.
Right.
Like that was so satisfying and so fun. But that's like kind of the peak of fun that we had, right? Like, and we were doing like jumps and stuff, and we were driving all across the United States. We did like a little race to Los Angeles, driving through the city, and that was fun too. But like, it was just sort of not terrific. It's not excellent. It's not even really good. It's just, it does what it's supposed to.
It felt like a worse version of GTA's online.
Yeah, kind of. It's not exciting in any way. I think it's really what it comes down to.
There was even an effects issue that I noticed when I switched my to my rear view mirror. There's like a fisheye effect that makes it look fast when you're driving forward, but if you look in reverse, they don't put that on, so everything looks really slow and strangely flat.
There are some
issues in the graphical department as well.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Positives, though, I will say they have an incredibly diverse and wide slate of cars, and the cars are actually very well modeled. They even did the interiors of the cars, which look pretty good. There's some customization as well. You can take your cars back to the paint shop, put custom decals on them, mess with them a bit there. There's also unlockable loot, essentially. There wasn't any kind of like premium currency or anything like that. I didn't notice microtransactions beyond. They had you pre-purchasing a motorcycle. I don't really understand what that meant, but in the UI there was like a slot where you could like buy a motorcycle that doesn't exist yet.
Right.
Outside of that, though, I didn't notice any premium stuff. There was just loot boxes in the woods and around the United States you could find, and the radar would make a little beeping thing.
Surprisingly fun. Actually, I thought like treasure hunting was weirdly one of the more enjoyable elements of the crew too for you and I.
So you would get like different colored gear for your car, and it upgrades like a Borderlands character, which is kind of cool, I guess. And I guess you could put them in any car. I don't know. Maybe it was just the one you unlocked the box with. I didn't really mess with it much.
No idea. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
And they're unique to the person that's playing the game. So if you're playing multiplayer, not everybody will see them. Which is a little weird because I feel like it would be fun to treasure hunt together, but can't. Except for the one time when it worked. I don't know why it worked the one time, and we both found the same treasure box.
Yeah, I think it was maybe just because it was like introducing us to the concept of the loot boxes. But yeah, that was weird.
So oddly, the loot boxes were one of the positives for me.
Definitely fell in that category, which
pretty
is
odd.
Uh-huh.
Any other positives for you?
I'm racking my brain, but really, like I kind of mentioned, it's just sort of mediocre. Like I'm probably not going to go back to it unless it's to play it with you again, to be honest. And that is unlikely, I'd say. So
I'm going to follow the patches for it and see if there's anything meaningful that comes out in the coming months. I don't know how well they supported the first one. I could see the potential for it to be a great platform for things, but I feel like the map is pretty lackluster and it needs a lot of extra details. You know, the idea that Boston is just not there on the map is kind of strange to me.
That is weird.
I didn't even notice that.
There's just a hole where Boston is. There's just and I don't mean a hole like that. Really... It's like a hole in the ground. There's just no Boston.
That's hilarious.
So, I don't know. Add Boston and we'll talk, I guess.
They're going to patch Boston in later. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even know that. All right.
It's just okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's not spectacular. It's not bad. It's a 7 out of 10 is what that is. The Crew 2.
Bring a friend. You might have fun there. Get it on a discount, maybe.
Yeah. So there we go. The Crew 2. It's out now. It's $60 on Uplay. Oh boy, and Steam as well.
The online did work well. I'll give it that.
Good.
Definitely.
We were easily able to get in the same game, and it worked the whole time we were in the game.
Which was shocking. So.
Oddly enough, for a Uplay game, the online worked great. So
I didn't realize their dev name is Ivory Tower. They had to get a tower reference in there at some point. Even if you can't climb them, damn it. All right. Cool. The Crew 2, it's out now. Overwatch Hamster. I still have that tab open. He's so adorable. Yay!
Is his name Wrecking Ball or is it Hampton?
His name's Hammond. Hammond the Hamster.
Brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's perfect. Ah, man, that's cute. That brightens my mood.
Is anyone gonna play Overwatch with me then? No. Okay. Didn't think.
This is the thing that would have brought me back, and if this doesn't do it, I don't think it's gonna happen, man. I'm sorry. Like, it was close. It was.
I
close.
still haven't played it since Bridget came out, and now we're a second character further than that.
I mean, if we get Jetpack Cat, I think that'll have to do it.
I want to play a little bit more Overwatch. I'm not done with that game still.
Yeah. Robo Hamtaro somehow didn't get me back, so I guess.
Is it not Bridget? I thought that was her name.
I thought it was Bridget too.
I think you're right.
Oh, okay. Everybody's correcting the way I said it. That's fine.
You just didn't say it right. Bridget. Okay. I think that is our docket. So let's get into what we've been playing this week, shall we? Mathis, what have you been up to?
Yeah, not too much, honestly. I actually did put some time into Lobotomy Corporation, thanks to Nick's recommendation. I like it. I'm still trying to crack a few things and understand a few things, because the game fully is, like you said,
it's a bit obtuse, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's very wordy, like you said, and what they're trying to portray in information with their wordiness doesn't ever come across
line up with
fully.
What they actually want you to do.
Right,
so I'm picking it apart. I'm watching some videos here and there to understand things. I like it though. There's a lot to like, I think, there, and I think there's a lot more depth than I expected. So I'm having fun with it. Other than that, like I mentioned earlier, I'm playing through Asura's Wrath again, which is an old game for the PS3 by Capcom. It is a story-based anime adventure game, quick time event fest. It's like a David Cage game back in the day.
I feel like I know who this
Capcom
is.
definitely published it. I don't know if they also developed it. I cannot remember.
CyberConnect 2.
CyberConnect 2.
The sequel.
Yeah, there you go. It's
That's
super
the Naruto Shippuden team.
It's okay, so it makes a whole lot of sense because it is an adrenaline. It is basically the plot exists merely so you can beat up a bunch of dudes throughout the story. Like that is the whole point. You are one of 8 generals. The other 7 generals betrayed you. It does follow a mythology of Japanese mythology from way back, but it's futurized and sci-fi-ized and turned into an anime. And every chapter of the game is has a closing and an opening like an anime, and it's an episode 1, episode 2 type of thing. And it's just about punching things so hard that they explode and the earth shatters and yeah, it's like one dude gets bigger than the planet and he tries to squish you with his finger and you just are normal size and you are just so angry that one punch sends a rippling effect through his whole body and explodes. Like it's just an adrenaline fueled nonsense adventure that's like 7 hours long, and it's so good because it's so ridiculous.
Hell yeah.
That's it. That's all I've been playing.
Nick, you've been playing some Jurassic World Evolution, right?
Before I go, though, I wanted to ask Mathis, did you have any Lobotomy Corp silly situations come up? Anybody go insane or do anything wild?
I've had some people kick it. I had one person just go insane. He ran around, so my guards went to subdue him, and what they mean is beat him until he dies, and so he died. And then I got one abnormality where you can't interact with it. You can only send somebody to go inside of it, and it's like an Iron Maiden. And I was like, what's going to happen? So I sent him in the Iron Maiden, and they use the worker to generate energy, and if they don't have enough health, they die. So I was like, get in there, tell me what happens. And he goes in, and he never came back because he just turned to red puddle paste and died.
Yeah. Have you seen the static monster yet?
It's annoying, but I have him, yeah.
What about the flesh sheet?
No. So my
flesh sheet?
My current 4 are Old Lady Who Tells Stories.
Yeah, I had her. Yep.
Iron Maiden. The One Sin, 100 Good Deeds.
Yeah, and he's great. He's my favorite.
Yeah, he's great. And the Static Monster. And my current mission that I've had for like 2 days is cause 8 Quipfloth like meltdowns and work during them, and I can't ever make that happen, and I don't know why.
Y'all are speaking a whole different fucking language.
Well, the game speaks a whole nother language. I'm telling you.
What's the bottom right is purple.
Instinct?
They all have weird names.
Well, the purple is bottom left, I think, and that's connection. Like the 2 hands like going to touch each other.
Use the purple one on the Sins guy, and he'll get pissed off about it.
Oh, you mean like beat him senseless, basically?
Yeah, because he's a thought guy. He wants to be cool, right?
So just go and yell at him a whole lot.
What the fuck are you talking
Go yell at him, and he'll be pissed off, and then he'll melt down your tip off, and then you can get your quest done.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no. So basically, the game, the game is like Nick described last week. It's the world is too overpopulated with technology, so we're at an energy shortage. So we've learned how to generate energy from taking these SCP containment breach style monsters that are just weird and creepy and torturing them to generate energy.
Well, you stimulate them with various types of stimulus, and if it's something they respond positively to, they'll generate energy boxes.
Yeah.
If they don't like it or they're neutral to it, they won't.
I was just getting so flooded.
If they
the game
respond
has me flooded a
negatively,
lot.
it'll cause a meltdown, and then stuff can escape and run around to eat people.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
It's a really cool concept for a game. I wish that it was done with slightly better execution, but I like it anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of where I sit right now on it as well.
Nick, tell me about Jurassic Evolution World.
And are we going to do Twitch chat after this?
Yeah, let's talk to Twitch chat after.
So think up some questions, chat.
Yeah.
I played about 3 hours of Jurassic World with Lynn. The two of us are very big fans of Planet Coaster, and I like Frontier in general. So I went in knowing the stuff that you guys have said about it. Mathis had kind of like a mixed reaction, liked it at the beginning, then liked it a bit less later. And I just read a few reviews and kind of took in all that info. And when I played it, I actually ended up a little bit happier about it than I thought I was going to be. Granted, I didn't play far enough in to see the real catastrophes happen, but I found that there was a decent level of depth in the way that you build the structures. It's not like you have a ton of buildings to work with. It's kind of straightforward and streamlined, but I think they were just trying to make a sim game that wasn't too complicated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of overly tutorialize some things and don't tutorialize some things enough, I found. But like, I have some experience with this, so it wasn't like I really struggled figuring it out. I just didn't really know always what exactly they were trying to get me to do until I clicked on a bunch of buildings, and it all kind of worked out in the end. What I really loved was the photo, the photo mode, where you go into one of the containment areas with your ranger and you just take pictures of the dinosaurs. I thought that was really cool. Like, I didn't realize they would have so much detail to the way that they react and the way that they walk around their pens and such. I also like that they want you to like create situations where the viewers can see the dinosaurs and like during certain moments of stuff, or like take a picture when they're eating or when they're hanging out with another dinosaur. I thought that was kind of a cool touch.
When they're fucking, right? That's got to be one of the big ones.
I think they're all ladies, right? Don't they not?
Yeah, they're all like, they can't.
You don't really do that kind of thing. You build them in the lab and then you send them out of the door and then they're like, okay, I'm alive now. And you get weirdly attached to them, which is strange because they're dinosaurs. They're kind of dopey. They don't really do much, just run around and eat. But like when my first one died, even though it lived about 15 years over its life expectancy, I was still really sad. And we had to figure out how to airlift it.
Was it Ryan saying they're all like little Tamagotchis that you have to take care of?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are. And the first one you get is really kind of cute. It's like a sad little lizard that just needs to be taken care of. All those herbivores. I mean, the gameplay loop is pretty simple, though. Like, it mostly just wants you to research stuff and then go and build dinosaurs. But I guess that's really all I wanted out of it anyway. Maybe a bit more customization, maybe a little bit bigger of a play area. But I know the larger islands are probably later on. But the first two seemed very restrictive in terms of total landscape space. The music I found really pretty. Actually, it was like a really nice soundtrack.
Yeah.
And the game looked fine. I don't think it looked like show-stopping, but it definitely looked good. So I really didn't have much in the way of complaints there. What's that?
And Jeff Goldblum's in it.
Yeah, he is. And the whole time he's like, why are we doing this?
Yep.
He's like, I've been in enough movies of this. Why are we doing it again? Just stop. Off we go.
Do you share Mathis's opinion that it was a little too easy?
I don't think it was easy just because I didn't really see any difficulty. It was really just kind of hang out and do stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't get far enough in for there to be any challenge, so it was really just take care of them and, don't die.
The challenge never really comes, is the point. You know, like, it never
I felt like it was one of those games that's meant more to, like, spur creativity than it is to lose.
A lot like Planet Coaster in that regard.
Right.
I think Planet Coaster is very similar. It's about creativity, less about the challenge and stuff.
If I wanted a challenge, that is not the right game to recommend necessarily, unless it gets super hard later or something.
Yeah.
And I also hear the complaint that it might get a bit repetitive later, since all the islands are kind of building on the same concept. There's only so many restaurants to go around. There's only so many layouts you can do with the buildings you're given.
Right.
But there's a good slate of 30 to 50 dinosaurs you can unlock over the course of the game.
Yeah,
so
the dinosaurs.
if you're there for the dinosaurs, that's pretty cool. It sucks though. There's not herds. There's no herd AI. Because a lot of the dinosaurs are meant to run together and they all just kind of wander by themselves, and there's no underwater stuff. There's no animals aside from the dinosaurs and the goat you feed it.
Yeah.
It feels a little sparse in that way. It would have been cool if you could have gone out into the jungle in a first person mode and done an
actual dino hunt
and look for dinos in the wild or something. Try and capture them and bring them back. But I don't know. I'm getting into XCOM levels of outside of the box meta stuff.
They don't have that much money. They spent all their money on Jeff Goldblum, right? They can't afford any more expansions.
I also imagine a lot of the stuff maybe just cutting room floor to meet movie launch time.
Right. Yeah. I think for what it is, it's actually decent. I didn't have a problem saying I'd recommend it at the time, and I think it's decent. So yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Right on.
What about you, Ben?
Well, right before we get some questions from Twitch chat, if you all wouldn't mind, we'll do some Ask Twitch or Ask Roundtable from Twitch, whatever the hell you want to call it, right here at the end. I'll mention that I did finally beat God of War this week.
Yay!
Yay! It was okay. So first of all, Mathis let me know there's actually one additional thing that I need to do to really beat the game, but I got to the end, and I stand behind our circle jerk 100%. I'm at full mast, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say.
Thank goodness.
Still 100% pro that game. It is set the goddamn bar. It's so freaking good. It's so good. And I'm still going to play it. I'm still going to pursue the legendary armor and beat the Valkyries, all that stuff.
I said the same thing, but then I got into this weird funk where I felt like if I go back to it without a story to follow, it feels aimless. I don't even know that that's true, but in my mind, I felt like it's letting myself down to not be playing the story.
That's possible.
Maybe that's a testament to how good it is. I don't know.
Well, I've experienced that exact feeling. I remember distinctly feeling that in Oblivion back in the day, where I was so entrenched in the main story, and I was completing side quests all along the way, and was very interested in those up till the point where I finished it, and then I was like, oh, well, okay, yeah, I'm kind of done with this now. Nothing really makes sense.
But the combat's so fun that it still should be fun. Right?
Dude, that in the final boss fight is so fun. It's so good, and it uses everything so well. I loved it. So yeah, A+.
I'm gonna drop the circle jerk from my end now because I've had people complain that I'm going too hard on it. It was almost a meme for me because I just really love the game is all. But I probably took it a bit.
I'm gonna blow all your minds real quick.
Oh, here we go.
It's okay, Nick, because that's your opinion. And it's okay, and that's what the show is. Our opinions.
What? Well, I don't know about that.
So the fact that you loved it is okay, and the fact that other people might not like it as much is okay too.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
I know.
It's fine. We don't have to be silly about it. Honestly, if I said it too many times, that's fair. I was doing it mostly as a joke, but I really did enjoy the game a lot. And I'll stop being annoying about it as well.
I think we're required to be subjective, Mathis. We're on a show on the internet. I think by law we're not allowed to have.
When we start giving out numbered scores and written reviews, then we have to be more objective.
No Man's Sky, 10 out of 10. Roundtable podcast.
Honestly, I'm happy you beat the game, Bear. I'm happy that you get to share in the enjoyment we all had with it.
It was the first game in a long time where the ending caught me off guard. The ending surprised the hell out of me, and it was because days on the internet, plot twists they're ruined so fast.
Yeah.
But this somehow never got ruined for me, and then when the twist came, I was like, my jaw was on the ground. I was like,
we never did a full spoiler discussion here with God of War.
No, I think let's wait until Ryan's here to really get into
I agree.
that, I think.
Yeah.
We gotta have the full squad.
Maybe not next week then.
Yeah, next week, by the way. Well, I mean, this is a weird time to announce it. I'll go ahead and announce it at the end of the show as well. But for those who don't listen to this particular section, but we'll be having Edmund McMillen on next week again for the third time on Roundtable. He's going to be on to talk about his new game Isaac Four Souls. So, yay, that's exciting.
I love
Kickstarter's got like $1 billion on it.
I know.
It's going crazy already.
I love Ed, and I love having him on the show. He's always so good to have on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were going to have him on this week, of course, because of the Kickstarter launch, but we wanted to make sure that Ryan was here for the show, so we postponed it a week. So we'll have him on for July 6th, right, is the day?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. And now I've completely lost my train of thought. What the hell was I talking about?
God of War.
God of War ending. Yeah, right. So like nope, now it's gone. Well, anyway, game's great. Yeah. God of War is fantastic. I also, of course, have been playing more of the Color of Madness DLC. I don't even know if I talked about it yet either, but I copied Ryan and Malph's idea and I made a custom Super Mega Baseball 2 league with all you guys. Mathis is one of my starting pitchers. Nick, you are on fire right now, actually.
Oh, sick.
You've been doing pretty well. I won't spoil anything, but you've been killing it.
Congrats on the 100,000 views, Bear, on the Darkest Dungeon video.
I thought you were talking about the baseball. I was
No.
wow, that's really optimistic. No,
I thought of that because you mentioned it before.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's been going really great too. Color of Madness has been fun. I'm really digging the farmstead and all that new content. It's good times. Okay, so we got maybe like 10, 15 minutes here. Let's talk to Twitch chat for a little while, answer some questions, maybe some pressing matters y'all feel that we have perhaps ignored over the past couple of months or so. Let's talk about it. Ask some questions. Use that @Roundtable Podcast in Twitch chat to more easily notify us of the questions. We can get the highlighted messages in there, y'all. And we'll discuss whatever you'd like us to discuss for the last 10, 15 minutes of the show here. And, of course, as I mentioned just recently, we'll have Edmund McMillen on for next week to talk about Isaac Four Souls and whatever else Edmund ends up talking about. It's always a fun time. I never like to try to structure it too much. It's always just like, let them loose, see what happens.
Do you have any games you know you're bad at but still love them?
Ooh.
From SE Salvi.
Yeah, Dota 2.
Dota 2.
Overwatch and Isaac.
Really? Yeah, those two. Oh man.
I mean, I've beat Isaac a ton of times, but I'm definitely not in the the echelon of people that are good at it.
Yeah. I get you. You know what it might be for me right now, unfortunately, is Slay the Spire. Because I think I have a win rate in that game of like 5% or something, which like I'm not good at it, but I play it a lot still. I play most of the daily challenges and I'm trying to get better, but it's definitely not my best. I don't know why I can't get it.
We can combine these two questions.
Yeah.
The thoughts on the Isaac card game, and do we plan on picking up a box, like a full box copy of it when it comes out?
I really don't know much about it yet. Do you?
He does play like how it's played on the Kickstarter. And it's very, from my understanding, though, I'm sure we'll get a way more complex look at it when Ed's on next week. It's kind of like a more skimmed down, mechanical focused version of Munchkin in a lot of ways, because it's a co-op card game with one big deck in the center and then an item and all this other stuff.
Right.
But there's definitely some Magic the Gathering elements in it as well. It looks up my alley. I am very excited for it, and I will probably back it at the $200 tier to get the dope box.
Nice, man. Yeah.
Because at the very least, even if I don't play it, it'll look really cool.
Wasn't the gold trim box at like $35?
I was just looking at the $200 one where the comes with like the box and all the other stuff that's involved with it, like the decent.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get it too. It seems nice, and happy to support Ed too.
Yeah, definitely. Bear, what game are you most looking forward to right now, and why is it a Darkest Dungeon Battle Royale? I don't even know if that would work. Maybe. I mean, any battle royale.
How the hell do you do that?
We gotta open up our mind here. Mine is definitely still Death Stranding. I am on that hype train for sure. Like I can't get it out of my head still, and it's like we answer one question and two more take its place, if I may steal a God of War quote from the end game. But it's like still blowing my mind. I'm so psyched for that still. Any sleeper hits for you guys you've seen this year from Lara Croft? Wondering halfway through 2018 here whether or not you guys
sleeper hits.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a sleeper hit, but I will point at Kingdom Come Deliverance being a game that I didn't expect to be very good and ended up liking a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's like, I don't think anyone even was really, well, they had a pretty large Kickstarter, right? That
Well, yeah,
got a
I
lot
mean,
of
large
attention,
in
so.
terms of, I guess, for an indie company trying to make a very, very ambitious game. The fact that it
Yeah.
even came out and was as good as it was is surprising and a success story, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. It's not perfect, but I liked it a whole lot. So I'd say that's probably my sleeper hit of 2018 so far.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, anything?
Can't really think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there's something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking through my Steam list now to see if anything jumps out at me. I wish
Yeah.
you could sort it by year of release. That would
Right.
be handy.
Well, you can do by recently played.
Yeah, I know, but I only have this week, then this month, and then it's all previous.
Right, yeah. I'd probably give a nod to Yoku again, Yoku's Island Express. I think that was still one that's been a little underappreciated. And while I lessened my my hype for it by the time I had finished the game, I did still play 100% of the game. So it caught me. It I think is worth your time for sure. And again, hasn't gotten a lot of attention this year. Any others you guys can think of? I don't know if there's
For
too
sleeper
many
hits?
Sleeper hits, yeah.
Yeah, not too many.
Yeah,
Anything you-
Celeste, I guess. Yeah, I would say that's probably up there.
Oh yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Gaming guilty pleasure from Shenny Lumpkins. I already admitted to playing some Honey Pop. I haven't gone back to it, but I did enjoy it a little
Honey
bit.
Pop is a good match 3 game, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise.
Guilty pleasures, guys?
I mean, I always say Ninja Blade is like my go-to guilty pleasure game.
Why is it a guilty pleasure though?
Because it wasn't that good. It's a QTE fest. And it doesn't even look that good. It's very like weird, like Matrix colors, very green, very black, and the gameplay was serviceable but not fantastic. I don't know. But I adore that game. Like that in my mind, like Ninja Blade on a Mathis scale is like a 9 for some reason. I fucking love Ninja Blade, and I don't know why. I played through that game at least 5 times.
Yeah.
Don't know.
That's weird.
I know. I don't understand why I like it so much. But now that I'm playing Ashura's Wrath, I'd love to see Ken Ogawa fight Ashura because they're both that ridiculous anime level of power where they're just not their strength makes no sense for their size. So I don't know. It's just silly. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sleeper hit. Vermintide 2. I think that was a sleeper hit.
I mean,
unless you mean it's an actual hit.
Well, yeah,
I don't know
think
where it falls.
I don't even know if you'd call that a sleeper either.
Yeah,
I think you call that like a groggily awakening punch.
Okay. And for guilty pleasure, I would say GoldenEye Source, but the only reason I say it's a guilty pleasure is because Ryan always gets mad when I suggest it for the docket.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to play it, but I really like GoldenEye Source.
Let's see here. It's from Chansey the Rapper. He says, are narrative-focused games like Detroit or TellTale games ever going to get mainstream as success or appeal? Or will they always be seen as gimmicky? That's sort of a... Well, first of all, I think that's kind of a guided question. I don't know if it's necessarily true to say that they're always considered gimmicky or...
Yeah, I don't think gimmick is the right word. It's not really... telling a good story isn't a gimmick. It's just it's a style of game. I just don't know if that style of game will ever take off in the masses.
Yeah, right. Like, I think a TellTale game to be able to take off, I think would have to be based on a major property, obviously. And they've already done that as many times as they can. They've done Game of Thrones, Guardians of the Galaxy, Minecraft, whatever you can really think of, they've attempted. And if none of those stuck the way that they were expecting, I don't know. I don't think they can do it, really.
And adventure games have always been a niche genre, and this is just sort of a subgenre of adventure games. So
yeah,
it's just kind of how it is, I think.
Right. I think it's just nature of the beast. They're never really expecting, I don't think, any sort of Fortnite level of appeal or anything like that. You know, I think they know what they're getting into for the most part. Let's see here. I want to take it to the other side of the coin for that games that we've liked so far, like sleeper hits for this year. For the remainder of the year, I know I mentioned Death Stranding, of course, already. For the remainder of the year, though, is there anything you guys are looking forward to? Anything you got your eye on? Spider-Man for sure. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's where my focus is right now.
The samurai game that I'm forgetting.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
That's
not
this year.
2019.
I think so. I'd be very surprised if that was this year.
Yeah, that's probably the most excited I am for a game for mechanics, and then for interest in general, Death Stranding is still the most for me.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Well, all right. Oh, I think that'll do. I think that'll do. I think that'll wrap her up here today for good old Roundtable Live for June 29th. Somebody mentioned June Game of the Month. I know we do have to do that as well. We want to wait for Ryan for that as well, and there's not really that many to talk about either, unfortunately. But we'll cover that probably after Edmund, so like July 13th or something. We'll do June Game of the Month, so won't forget about that. But yeah, no worries there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate your time here this week on Roundtable Live, twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast. You can follow us and be notified when we go live Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. As I've mentioned a few times just now, in fact, Edmund McMillen will be joining us next week for the show, so please tune in, join us for that. There is a third appearance, which I told these guys, I think it's got to make him an honorary member of the Roundtable at this point. So we got to give him the official designation, get him his badge and all that next time.
We have to give him a cut of the Patreon now. So if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing to the Patreon, more pieces of the pie and all that. We got to pay some guys. So please get over to patreon.com/roundtable. Please, if you wouldn't mind, commit a few dollars a month to the show. We really appreciate it.
Even $1 is huge.
If this has become a regular part of your routine, you enjoy having us around, we really appreciate you supporting the show financially that way. And we do want to thank those of you that have been supporting the show at that $20 tier and above over on patreon.com/roundtable. That includes Dork Lord, Julian Abelsgard, Jonathan Graham, Scotty119, Ricky Grist, Ryan Guidry, Rucario, Kasquashi, Brizzlebrip, Mediocrities, Justin, Cowboy Chemists, Smurfette, Eric Schooley, Stephen Aoki, James P., Peter Citizen, Ellis Spice, John Kalchik, O. Thomas Games BR, Jakar Sampson, Colnar, Talks to Wall, Cole Decline, Oren Salzman, Miss Garrett, Logan Ray. Thank you all very, very much. And of course, we also want to thank those of you supporting over here on Twitch. The subs have grown over here on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast. We certainly appreciate you using your Twitch Prime token or even just subscribing with good old-fashioned regular currency.
Yeah, as far as subbing is concerned, don't stop that.
Did you guys get a stop that tattoo when you reach a certain amount on the Patreon?
Oh, jeez. Anyway, thank you very much to Tech Tight Toe, Berglund, White Rain, Brosson, 9 Hertz, Alacroft for the subscriptions and the resubscriptions. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, Phoenoc as well. Thank you. Thank you for the support, everybody. And that'll do it. We'll be back next week, as I mentioned, with Edmund, and Ryan will be back next week as well. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.